everyone, my name is Dillon Gonzalez. I'm the editorial director for GeekVibesNation.com and also a co-host of the Home Dance Film Festival podcast. And welcome to a very special episode of the Video Addict New Release Roundup. Now, typically, I have my beloved co-host Mike Vaughn here with me, exchanging titles back and forth, and we have a good conversation, but this is a very special episode because with the Thanksgiving holiday, it was a little bit difficult coordinating schedules and we all need a little bit of time off. So I'm decided to roll solo this week. I was able to fit in a few titles between like stuffing my face for Thanksgiving, and I'd been collecting a litany of titles over the past few weeks, and I thought, all right, now's the time to just jump into it. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. And I have a large number of titles to get through, but I'll try to get through them as quickly as possible. If you want more in-depth views of each of these titles, you can go to GeekVibesNation.com, where I will be doing individual reviews for each of these titles over the next week or so after this episode is released. So, I'm going to try to give a broad overview of a vast number of titles. I think there's a little bit of something in here for everyone, and without further ado, I'm just going to jump right into it. I have two very interesting releases that come from some partner label releases with OCN Distribution and Vinegar Syndrome, two partner labels, and two of these are actually short films that are being featured, which you don't see individual releases of those very often. My first title is The Runner from Yellow Veil Pictures. This came out last year, I believe, 2022. And I believe this has been playing on Shudder, which I think it might actually be a good idea to sample this one before committing to it, but I'll explain why in a little bit. Here is the alternate artwork here, and then you have a nice a booklet here, and you got an essay and some good photo reproductions, all that good stuff. And with both of these titles, and I'll remind you with the next title, these have exclusive slipcovers that you can get exclusively at select indie retailers, but specifically at vinegarsyndrome.com. If you want a really nice, thick slipcover, it'll look very nice. But this is the standard edition. And what this is from Yellow Veil Pictures is, I hate to say that it's like a glorified music video, but if you've seen like Beyonce's Lemonade, I think you're kind of along the right track, but more horror tinged than like Breakup Revenge. This is from a group called Boy Harsher, and this is a series of songs that are kind of accompanied by a kind of a mysterious a collection of images of like a woman going from place to place and kind of terrorizing different people. And there's some background to this which you come to learn through some of the conversations, which I think actually kind of spells it out a bit too much what this entity represents. But overall, this is basically a series of songs that are really catchy. I do really like the music, and I'm going to investigate Boy Harsher more now that I've seen this. But it is kind of like a glorified music project with just some creepy imagery throughout. And I think it might be one that will probably isolate a lot of horror fans. And I don't think there is some gory stuff in here that I think is some really great practical effects work. But on a narrative level, which if you like just creepy vibes with pretty good like synth-driven music, I think you'll enjoy this. But it's hard to recommend this like full-throatedly to just the casual viewer, because this is a 40-ish minute short film that's mostly focused on this one band's music. And that's why I say, if you have Shudder, I think this is on Shudder. Sample it. If you like it, this is a really great release. This comes with great high definition transfer, DTS 5.1 sound. Everything looks very clear and nice. And you might be thinking, okay, this is a short film. Do I really want to pay full price for this? I will say there's some really great special features to go along with this, which kind of enhances the value. You do have a commentary track. You do have an interview with some of the subjects. An intro from a film festival programmer, and a selection of music videos in addition to what like the actual film is. and then you have like I said, the booklet, and then a option of a slipcover. So overall, they did a really nice job with this release. I just think it's one of the more divisive titles, and it's definitely probably one you want to try before you buy. At least sample the music of Boy Harsher before investing. But if you do like it, it's a good release. So Yellow Veil Pictures did a nice job with The Runner. It's just not the most conventional title I'm talking about. Similarly, another 40-ish minute short film. This is a animated feature from Denmark, and this is Benny's Bathtub from Deaf Crocodile. And anyone who's familiar with this channel and has watched our show may have seen me talk about Deaf Crocodile releases. They've been releasing a lot of fun things recently, including like Cat City recently I covered. But they've just been uncovering a lot of gems of like European animation. And this is one from Denmark, and it's a lot of fun. And like I said, it's only like 41 minutes, but don't let that deter you. It's really kooky and weird. It's just about a boy who kind of finds himself, he finds a tadpole that he is ordered to kind of dispose of, but he ends up putting it in the bathtub with him, and it kind of, he gets into the bathtub, and it unlocks kind of this underwater fantasy world, and they kind of go along and meet a bunch of kooky creatures and topless mermaids and some impotent crabs. There's a lot of weird stuff going on underneath the sea, underneath the water, but it has that kind of really surreal, kind of Yellow Submarine-ish esque quality to it. That's a lot of fun. There is some good songs throughout. Even if you don't speak Danish, they're catchy, and there's some like kind of semi-problematic elements regarding consent, but other than that, there is a warning that like there are like some topless mermaids on the back, and I did mention it, so it may not be the best for children. And there's like a weird joke early on about a man potentially being a pedophile, but it's like kind of an accusation that he's like, no, I'm not. So that's be careful if you're showing this to kids. But overall, if you are a mature audience member who enjoys fun, weird animation, definitely check out Benny's Bathtub. And like the Runner, there's some really good special features to enhance it. I think even more so with this one. You do have 2 commentary tracks. This has been restored from the original camera negative, and the audio has been restored as well. This looks very nice. It's like nice filmic classic animation. This has 3 episodes of a children's TV series that like have been also restored in this, and one of which was like banned in Denmark, so that's kind of a rarely seen artifact. That's a cool addition. And there's also a 1-hour interview with one of the co-directors conducted by Deaf Crocodile founder Dennis Bartok. So overall, fantastic release. And like with the other one, if you want a slipcover, go to like Vinegar Syndrome specifically, or you can go to select indie retailers like Diabolic or something like that. They'll set you up if there's any left. I think there was last time I saw. So Benny's Bathtub from Deaf Crocodile is another really cool hidden gem from them. Sticking on the animation train, but much more conventional, and I think something that people know about. I'm actually covering 2 releases at once because they follow one another. These are both from Paramount, and is the latest releases from South Park. We have The Streaming Wars, which kind of bridged the gap between season 25 and 26, and then you have season 26. So season 25 was released earlier this year. Now we had The Streaming Wars, which was like a 2-part special, each running about almost an hour long. And then season 26, which is 6 episodes. And between these 2 releases, there's a lot of just great South Park content, and especially The Streaming Wars. Like you can obviously Man Bear Pig is here, and this finds the gang touching on topics of course, like you can guess from The Streaming Wars. It's a play on like all these streaming services, but it's kind of structured within the framework of an environmental disaster where there's like a drought or like issues with water rights, and they kind of use as a launching point to kind of address a bunch of these issues. There's also a lot of really great commentary about the celebrity endorsement of cryptocurrency, which is very clever, and just a lot of good stuff here. And then going on to season 26, like I said, there's 6 episodes. You have topics such as like the Kanye West anti-Semitic like topic, like they have like their own take on that. They have their own kind of take on the royal family, like kind of the Prince Harry's rejection of all that. They have kind of their own thing in Canada that really sets Ike off. And then you have like GPT kind of AI writing and stuff. So there's different there's more than that, but that's some of the highlights. And overall, South Park's, they've really bounded back after a couple years, especially near the beginning of the pandemic, where they kind of seemed stuck in a rut a little bit. I'm glad that they kind of bounced back. So Streaming Wars and season 26 are now available. Each of these are just 1 disc each. So you have here's the inside of the Streaming Wars. So those are like I said, 2-hour-long episodes. And then neither of these have special features, but both of these look, if you've collected any of the recent seasons, you know how good they look on Blu-ray, and they kind of keep up that quality. So here's the inside of season 26. And so yeah, overall, I'm glad that Paramount keeps releasing these. I expect that once we eventually get to season 30, we'll get another 5-season set from 25 to 30, but doubt a lot of people want to wait that long. So these are good releases until now. And the individual the like season bundles, they don't include kind of the specials, like the COVID specials and stuff. So I think you're safe to at least pick this one up if you're gonna wait for the bundle. Another collection here. I'm moving into the feature film world. This is Lionsgate's exclusive Walmart steelbook of Expendables 1 through 4. I'm not going to go too much into the films right now. I'm going to hear more so for the packaging, but just to say, the Expendables has always been a series that it seems like they should execute it better than they do. And going to the package real quick, there are 4 discs on each side, 2 like 1 Blu-ray, 1 4K for each film. I'm not the biggest fan of this type of packaging because I'm scared to death that these discs are going to get scratched, especially since 4K discs are so sensitive. But if you want space saving shelving packaging, this is a good option. I do really think this is a pretty badass cover, but you do with that as you wish. These are the same as the individual releases, which probably have at least a better chance of having non-scratch disc. But as a franchise, it's pretty inconsistent because the first one is dumb fun. It kind of embraces its R-rated roots, but you just have a bunch of like action stars from the past and present just kind of joining together for a big action extravaganza. And the second one actually kind of improves upon that and makes it even better. But after that, it really hits a bumpy ride, especially with the third one, which is only PG-13. I don't know what they were thinking. It's kind of a mess. And then the fourth one goes back to R, but there's a lot of wonky CGI, and they lose a lot of their big stars. You have Jason Statham more so leading the pack, with Sylvester Stallone really taking a step back. And the people that they come to like join his team are not the most exciting. Like 50 Cent and like God love her. I love Megan Fox, but I'm not sure if this was the right franchise for her. But and I know my wife is especially upset that she'll have to watch The Expendable because she loves Megan Fox, but that's another story. So this is a very inconsistent franchise. So it's, do I recommend this? If you're a fan, these are pretty good 4K releases. The fourth one has Dolby Vision. The first 3 have HDR10. All 4 have Atmos. All have their special features, which do tend to dwindle as you get further along. But there are some good, especially the early ones, like a commentary track and an extensive making of and different featurettes here and there, deleted scenes, all that good stuff. So the best thing I can say about this is the packaging is really cool, except for the potential for a scratch disc. But otherwise, aesthetically very pleasing. a much better situation in 4K. We are heading straight into a long stretch of Kino Lorber titles, both studio classics and mainline and some other imprints and stuff. But I'm starting off with a banger for them. This one is a Billy Wilder classic. This is Stalag 17. And this is also, as I came to learn, a surprising Christmas movie, because there's a scene set firmly around Christmas, and it kind of takes place around the holiday season. No reversible cover art for this. I do really like this movie. I do have slight issues with it, and that probably will make some people mad at me. But overall, very good movie. It's about a group of prisoners of war in Germany who they are trying to find ways to escape, but then they don't realize that there is a traitor in their midst that are kind of like foiling their plans. And this takes a real kind of like, there are serious moments, but there's a lot of humor throughout this, kind of like Hogan's Heroes-esque like folly. There are just some moments that kind of like, especially like with these two characters, where things get a little bit too ridiculous in regards to how they interact with the guards. But overall, I think there's a lot of really funny moments and a lot of really heartbreaking moments and heartfelt moments with these prisoners of war, like reckoning what they are going through, but also keeping things tonally nimble and kind of light. It's a really interesting effort. It doesn't always succeed for me, but overall I think it's a very good movie. And this is a very good presentation. This has been restored in 4K from the original camera negative. This comes with Dolby Vision, and this is a fantastic looking transfer. It's in black and white, but the contrast and everything looks very great. All the grayscale looks very nice. No blooming, deep black levels, nice natural film grain that resolves well. And it sounds good. The original 2.0 audio, it sounds really good. There's no like 5.1 remixes or anything, so I think you're pretty safe to think that this is the original audio, which I know a lot of people are concerned about. This comes with 3 commentary tracks and 2 archival featurettes, all of which offer great insight into this. So if you're a fan of Billy Wilder and you're open to a more or a less serious take on like concentration camps, this is really interesting. And especially, like I said, we're heading to Christmas. There's a really pivotal scenes around Christmas, so I think this would be an interesting addition to your holiday season. Next title is Neon City with the great Michael Ironside, who he's just great. I love him. It's interesting seeing him play more of a heroic character because he plays such a great bad guy. This most easily can be said, and I think it even says it on the back. This is kind of almost like a Mad Max knockoff, where there's a group of people led by Michael Ironside who are trying to find this city that is basically a safe haven from all this apocalyptic stuff that is going on with like sun flares and like all kinds of stuff that's happening in the desert plains and stuff that makes the earth inhospitable. And along the way you get to know a lot about all the people on this caravan, and characters evolve. There's some traitors amongst them as well. There's some good action. It's as kind of like I believe this was it was 91, so it was like an early 90s B movie. It works really well, especially if you like people like Michael Ironside or any of the other great character actors that are with him. It's not a fantastic movie, but like I said, as a kind of Mad Max knockoff, it's pretty entertaining. And this comes from a 2K scan of the inner positive, and it looks pretty good. There are some small blemishes still here and there, but overall, it's a very good transfer. It sounds good. This does come with a audio commentary track, and then also a 10-minute interview with Michael Ironside that's from a more modern interview, which I love hearing from him always. So I'm glad that he was able to speak on this a little bit. And it also has some trailers and everything. So overall, pretty solid release for this one, and if you're into that type of film, you're gonna have a good time. Doubling up on some titles again, I have a Burt Reynolds double feature for you. You had to make your own because they're two separate, but you have White Lightning and its sequel, Gator. So I'll kind of talk about these concurrently because they share a lot of the same things. Funny story. Funny is stretching it, but a story. Gator, it came in first, and I did not know it was a sequel to White Lightning. I watched it first, then I went back to White Lightning. Still worked, but don't make that same mistake. You start with White Lightning, where you do meet Burt as Gator McCluskey, who is a moonshiner who has recently gotten out of jail to avenge his brother's death and kind of figure out what happened within this small town where there's like a corrupt sheriff, and he has like an old friend that he kind of like ropes into things, and you just see him kind of like Burt Reynolds against the law, and it's very gritty and grimy, and there's a lot of great like great car work and just small town like Arkansas drama, which kind of continues into Gator, where he is kind of brought into once again take on the evils of the world, which happens to be one of his like good buddies and stuff. And he has to kind of help take his old friend down once he realizes the depth of what he's been doing to like spread corruption within this town. And once again, he has like a interesting love interest and everything. So these are two kind of like good old boy dramas or like action dramas. And Burt, he's very charming. Gator McCluskey is a charming character. There's definitely some outdated things within this, which I think you expect from some 70s action dramas. But overall, it's a fun time if you kind of like that kind of flavor of movie. Both of these have actually been released by Kino in the past. These are re-releases, but whenever they were originally released, around 2014, they were released on a single layered disc. These have been re-released as Blu-ray 50s, which are a double layered disc. So these are the same masters, but there's a little bit more room to breathe. So they should look a little bit better, not monumentally better, but it is a little bit more room to breathe. They both look a little old-ish, but they look passable. But if you do have those releases, that's not the only thing, but including then additional slipcover. You do get new commentary tracks with this one, and you do get, which was on the original release, you have a two-part interview with a more modern Burt Reynolds before he passed, kind of an older years Burt Reynolds, I believe from like 2011 is when this was conducted, reflecting on his time with these movies. So part 1 is on White Lightning, part 2 is on Gator. Especially part 2 is interesting because that was the one that Burt Reynolds actually directed. It was a just directorial debut. So he really has a fondness for that, and he has a lot of very colorful stories about his his fellow cast members, which is very much worth listening to. Both of those are around 10 to 15 minutes long, so it's great to hear from Burt directly about his experiences with this movie before we lost him, unfortunately. So if you're a fan of Burt, these are two good ones, especially if you don't have the original releases. These are the ones to get because they have a little bit more breathing room and some new special features. Another Studio Classics release. This is from 1964. This is The Carpetbaggers with George Papard. And this one is lightly based on the actual life of Howard Hughes, as depicted like in The Aviator, but like Martin Scorsese's The Aviator. This does have double-sided artwork, and I just kind of went ahead and reversed that for ease, but you can kind of see, like I showed you on the slipcover, that's what it looks like underneath. So George Papard plays a a young man who inherits his father's aviation business whenever he dies, whenever he is like in his 20s or so. And he is the type of person who is always pushing the limits of aviation, and he's always you come to learn about this character where he never he always is using his time to its fullest, much to the detriment of some of his interpersonal relationships. So he has like he gets married, but then he never has time for his wife, and he's always like he's cheating on her, and he's just really just a son of a bitch, and really just kind of a despicable character. But you come to know a lot about this character and see his evolution, and see his he tries to make an entry into movies, and then he also has his dad's widow, who is not too much older than him, and like his relationship with her, and how he's trying to balance all of this is really interesting. It's a very sprawling, epic movie. It runs 2 hours and a half long, so it's an investment. You go on a very interesting journey throughout his life. And do you always like him? No, you do not. But it's an interesting story, and where it ends up, I think it's very satisfying overall. It's based on a book, but I'm not sure how faithful it is. But overall, from what I was telling from the commentary track, I think it was a good adaptation, and especially within the limitations of kind of the time period that it was made. So this one, especially if you're a fan of George Papard, he does a really nice job. But if you like a good epic melodrama, check this one out, because I was quite invested. Even with the length of time, I was never really bored. It's worth your time. This comes from a 4K scan of the original 35mm camera negative. It's a really gorgeous restoration, looks very nice. Did not notice much in the way of any kind of damage or anything lingering. This is a really nice 4K scan. It has DTS 5.1 and 2.0 audio. The 5.1 is really grandiose and nice and enveloping, but both tracks sound pretty good. This has 2 commentary tracks. I've mentioned there's a commentary track. There's actually 2. With some film historians, one from Julie Kurgo and one from film historian David Delval. So you have choices, but overall, I recommend this one. It's a big, sprawling melodrama, and I think it'll serve you well. Heading to this one's actually another re-release. This is The Emerald Forest from John Borman, who did Deliverance, speaking of Burt Reynolds recently. So here you have, I believe this Powers Booth, right? Yes, Powers Booth, because there's a lot going on up here. So here there's the reversible cover art. I went ahead and reversed that, kind of like the last one. Powers Booth plays a businessman who he is in charge of like a logging operation in the Amazon, and one day he and his family are like setting up shop, and his young son, who's around probably like 8 or 9, 10 years old, gets kidnapped by some indigenous people, and you have like a 10-year time jump, and in this 10-year time jump, it's said that he's been searching for his young son all this time, and eventually he makes his way back into this forest once again, and he actually comes across his son, who is now a young man, about 20-year-old man, who has been fully kind of taken in by this tribe, and he is speaking their language, and is fully, that is his family now, and that's kind of what he has been raised to know how to be. And this isn't really a story about rescuing his son from this tribe. That's not really what this is about. This is more so him coming to try to reconnect with his son and figure out what kind of life they can live now, because he is so fully committed to being in this tribe and fighting against like the industrial forces that are trying to encroach on their land and stuff. It's a really interesting dynamic, because the way this is portrayed, I was shocked that so much of this film takes place in the native language, and there's a lot of subtitles in this. There is a good amount of English, but a lot of this is this indigenous language, and it's really bold for a film, especially at this time, which was 85, to focus this much on like subtitled language in a mainstream film. and like a lot of they treat the native people with respect, and just the way that they are portrayed, they are not treated to be like savages or anything. It's a really nice portrayal from what I can tell. I'm not a native person, obviously, but I think compared to other films, at least, I think this is a very interesting depiction. And there is a new commentary track on this one from filmmaker Edgar Pablos and film historian Nathaniel Thompson. This is another one that was originally released on a single layer disc. This has been re-released with the same older master with some of its own deficiencies on a double layered disc. There's more room for compression and all that kind of stuff to be improved a little bit. Would have been nice to get a full 4K remaster, but slipcover and a new commentary track and additional room to breathe, it's at least something. If you don't have this yet, this is definitely the version to get. Moving on to a trio of titles that I love these films. I'm just going to come out and say it. These were my first experiences with Eric Rohmer, and I will kind of present these in the way I viewed them. The first was The Aviator's Wife. Then we had Four Adventures of Reinette and Mirabelle. And then finally, Boyfriends and Girlfriends. And I believe Aviator's Wife and Boyfriends or Girlfriends are part of his Comedies and Proverbs collection of films. I believe Four Adventures of Reinette and Mirabelle is more of a in-between effort. While he had like some downtime between filming two movies, he kind of filmed that more on the fly. It has slightly different energy, but it's one I very much enjoy. So I will get into the technical details of all three of these after I've kind of given a brief synopsis of each of them, because they all kind of fare about the same. The Aviator's Wife, I love this one. It is my favorite one. It is, it didn't quite get me in the first like 10 minutes, but it soon quickly grabbed me. It is about messy relationships and a young man who believes that his girlfriend has kind of like is cheating on him, and has kind of went back to this man that she said that she is no longer seeing, and he takes like a long walk to look inward and kind of reflect, and he ends up meeting this young girl, and they go on like a little bit of their own adventure together, which really has flavors of like a little bit of like the Before trilogy from Richard Linklater. And they have a lot of walking and talking moments, which during that stretch of the film, I was just on cloud nine. I loved everything that was going on there. And it kind of bookends with his girlfriend and her feelings and everything. I like developed a major crush on the girl that he meets in the park, who shows up in Boyfriends and Girlfriends as well. But this is just such a nice character-driven drama that there's some comedy, there's some lightness, there's like the thrill of discovery, but there's just a lot of. If you like talky movies, you're going to love this. I know that's not for everyone, but for me, it's completely my shit. I love it so much. It is great. I will go ahead and talk about Boyfriends and Girlfriends because it's along the same vein in the Comedies and Proverbs. This one is more so, it's about two women who kind of come together by chance and become best friends. One of the ladies is unlucky in love, and the other one is she has a boyfriend, but she kind of is unsure if she wants to stick with him, and she keeps like telling her friend that she's going to break up with him, and then she kind of changes her mind, and she's trying to set the girl who's unlucky in love up. But what happens is, and what this is translated as Boyfriends and Girlfriends, but I think it kind of literally more so translates to My Boyfriend's Girlfriend, because it's about whenever you kind of bring someone into your orbit, the chance for someone to develop feelings. So like this woman who's unlucky in love developing actual feelings for this boyfriend who this woman is taking for granted, and whether they may actually be a better fit for one another. So there's complicated character dynamics where there are different people attracted to different factions of people, so there's a lot of cross-pollination here, and it's really good. I really liked it as well. I'm a little bit stepped down from Aviator's Wife, but still really like it. The one slight different one is Four Adventures of Reinette and Mirabelle, but I also really love this one. This is a simple film about two young women who meet out in the countryside by chance, and they kind of quickly become friends. And you see them go through four different interesting dynamics. So they kind of start out in the country, and then they move to the city where there's a confrontation with like a rude waiter, and there's like a confrontation with a shoplifter, and then one of them's an artist who's trying to sell their paintings, and kind of how that all unfurls. What I especially love about this film, and which I found so refreshing, is there is no like this definitely passes a Bechdel test. There's no conversations about men or anything like that. All the conversations that they have are just like kind of just normal conversations. Just they don't have to be about men. They are just having conversations about life and how they feel about certain things, and just kind of the wacky things that happen in their lives. It's just such a breath of fresh air. I love it so much. So these three Rohmer films, they're really great. These are all released through Metrograph Pictures from Kino Lorber, and these all have come from recent restorations. I don't have specifics on those, but they all look very nice and filmic, no outward like blemishes and stuff. These are all just very nice looking transfers. All of them come with commentary tracks, and then like a trailer about Eric Rohmer films. So if you are either love him, or if you have not gotten into him but you're into kind of French cinema and interested in kind of delving into kind of something light and like kind of soul enriching, these films are it. I love it and highly recommend those. So if you're a burgeoning cinephile, at least check out Aviator's Wife and go from there. I think it is the best one, but overall, all three really great, really recommended. I mentioned Stalag 17, which I was like, oh, it's good for a Christmas film. Some may disagree, but I think everyone will agree that this is most assuredly a Christmas film. This is Babes in Toyland, which I had seen about 5 years ago, and I was interested to watch this again. And this one, it's very kind of throwbacky and like family friendly in a very specific way, but it's one that I like. This is just about a young girl and her sister and her sister's boyfriend who get swept up in a windstorm, and they get swept off into Toyland, which there is a like nefarious figure who lives in a giant bowling ball, and there's the toy maker, aka Santa Claus, played by Pat Morita. It just has a very whimsical, it's a classic story like Babes in Toyland. There's been many adaptations, but this one is special just because it has Drew Barrymore and Keanu Reeves and other interesting people that you'll see show up, and you'll be like, oh, I didn't know they were in this. Overall, for what it is, it's fun. It's just like good family fun. It's a little cutesy and like you don't take it too seriously, but I do love like the practical special effects and like the costumes and the vibrancy. It's great. I have fun with it. It's a good like family time, and it's especially great for Christmas. So if you're watching this, get it soon so you can enjoy it for Christmas. It's perfect for the season. And this one actually comes with 2 aspect ratios, which is cool. They have a full screen television aspect ratio and a widescreen aspect ratio. Both look great, but you have the option depending on how you want to watch it. The print looks very nice. There's no mention of any like 4K or 2K restoration, but it's a very nice looking print, very clean. I think fans will be happy. No real special features besides just like the option of having aspect ratios, besides like a theatrical trailer. Wish there was a commentary or something, but overall, just glad to have this on Blu-ray, because I know a lot of people never expect it. Especially if you want to fill in your Keanu Reeves collection, you got to have this one. So this one's fun for the family. Okay, this next title, I was so excited whenever this was released because I'm a big fan of television shows on Blu-ray and collecting stuff, and I actually own this entire series on DVD, but I am more than happy to upgrade these. This is Season 1 of Monk, which is a USA show. It was one of the ones I actually came to late. I watched a lot of the other ones more first run, but it took me a few years to get these DVDs and get into these, but I do quite like this. 13 episode first season. I think it's pretty, like, people mostly know Monk. For those who don't know, it's kind of like Sherlock Holmes with OCD. Tony Shalhoub expertly plays the titular Monk, who he was a detective who his wife was murdered, and it's kind of exacerbated some underlying issues he had with OCD. So he is still a brilliant detective who with the help of like a nurse caretaker partner type and his ex-captain, who's kind of given him the leeway to be kind of a consultant, he is helping solve a bunch of these cases while dealing with a lot of like peculiarities that kind of makes people look at him askance a lot of times and kind of hinders a lot of his progress. But he is a brilliant mind, and it's just a lot of fun. It's a good mixture of mystery and comedy. We recently had featured on the show fellow USA comedy mystery show Psych, which came to Blu-ray as a full complete series on Blu-ray. This is being released individually by season, but this one, what I will say, this one has been giving a new 4K restoration of every single episode. So this looks very nice. It's a very nice presentation. You get all 13 episodes looking the best they ever have. Sounds really great as well in DTS 5.1 audio. And then you also have 5 featurettes that were carried over from the DVD as well. Just brief featurettes, but they're carried over, so you can safely trade in your set. The second season comes in about a month, and the third season, I believe, comes in January. So they're releasing these pretty quickly, so you won't have to wait long. It might be a little bit of more of a financial investment, but I think it is worth it if you're a fan. And they are committed to releasing all 8 seasons. So you will get every single season, but support these because I want to see so many more shows on Blu-ray. And if Kino can really tap into this market and really just exploit it, I will love it. But if you're a fan of Monk, definitely get this one. The jump from DVD to Blu-ray is insane. You will not be disappointed. Next title. This is the 10th anniversary of a movie I had never heard of. This was Computer Chess, which is a Sundance film, which I host a Sundance themed podcast. So I was especially interested to check this one out. This is from Andrew Bujalski, who probably most notably has done Support the Girls, but he's a extremely indie filmmaker who really crafts some low-key but charming and insightful movies. This is kind of the aesthetic you're dealing with. This looks like a 1980s film because it's set in that period where there is a computer chess tournament, which means that there's a bunch of programmers who are coming to this tournament to kind of prove that they have built this technology that can reign supreme in this chess tournament. And at the end of this tournament, they are supposed to battle this master chess maker. But this isn't really about that. It's about all the people who come to this conference and kind of what they're all dealing with. A lot of colorful characters. There's a guy who seemingly is just trying to scam his way into like finding free room all weekend. So he's like pretends like he has a reservation, and then he like goes knocking on people's like doors and trying to get himself invited into places. You also have this competing I won't say cult, but community, I will say, who are like there's some like swingers amongst them, and there's some other spiritual people, and then there's a bunch of nerds who, like, affectionately nerds. This is Geek Vibe Nation, so like we're geeks, nerds, everything, who are just trying to figure out these computer programs, everything. It's not like a 5 out of 5 movie, but overall it's a very engaging movie. I found myself very interested by each of the characters. The ending is quite something, but if you watch it, let me know what you think. Comment on this, or like slide into my DMs. I want to know what you think of this movie. But it's it's worth your time, I'd say. If you're into more kind of like lo-fi indie movies, this one's a pretty good one. This Blu-ray captures the aesthetic that it was intended. It kind of looks a little soft, a little blurry, but intentionally so. It has a really nice array of special features. It has a couple of commentary tracks. It includes a Q&A, some interviews, some featurettes. Good assortment of stuff in here. I don't think you'll be disappointed. If you're a fan, they've treated this right. Maybe not the safest blind buy, but if it sounds interesting to you, check it out. Speaking of like badass indie filmmakers, going into people may have heard me speak about Beth B before. This is another one of her features. Salvation. Have you said your prayers today? It was kind of the subtitle. But what this is one of her more straightforward films that I've seen, since I've seen a lot of her documentaries, and then I covered Two Small Bodies recently. This is about a hypocritical television evangelist who a couple of ne'er-do-wells, like down on their luck people, decide to kidnap him and kind of like teach him a lesson while also trying to get some money. And but at the same time, there's like a competing, like actual devout person who is trying to hook up with him, and it kind of exposes some of his hypocrisies and the way these characters like interact. It's very interesting. What's especially interesting is Viggo Mortensen is in this movie, and he does a really good job. I really like Viggo. Dominique Davallo, Stephen McHattie plays the preacher. It has a really kind of like dark humor to this, which I really appreciate. I would probably say this is my favorite of Beth B's stuff that I've seen so far. But not for everyone, I'm sure. But if you kind of like dark humor that kind of takes the piss out of religious institutions, and this was kind of before the downfall of like some of the more public evangelical people. She was finger on the pulse, but I think I'm glad this is now getting appreciated. This has been restored through Kino Lorber, and this looks very nice. It includes a new new interview, there's been a new one on each of her films. Interview with Beth B from the Indie Collect president with her. This also has a music video, which was actually included on the Sex, Power, Money collection that I covered recently. But it's good to have that as well on here if you don't have that collection, just as kind of an addition. So overall, solid film, worth checking out. Gearing up for another banger that I know a lot of people are eagerly anticipating, judging by I know how its status as a cult classic. Another 4K release from Kino Studio Classics. This is Monster Squad. And this is a very impressive release for a number of reasons. I had seen this film before, probably about 10 years ago. It was my first time I'd seen it. And there are certain, this is the reversible cover art. The actual cover art, I'm not going to flip it around, looks like this, but this is the one underneath. So I flipped it around for ease of viewing. And a lot of people get mad at Kino for the way they package their stuff, and like they say they package it backwards. So this is the special third disc, which has the documentary Wolfman's Got Nards from 2018. So that has its own disc. You also get the film on Blu-ray, which I will get into some more of the special features there, and then you have the film on 4K. For those who haven't seen the film, it is about a group of kids who call themselves the Monster Squad. They're into monsters, who suddenly get what they've always wanted, that monsters are real. And then you have like a Dracula figure, Wolfman's Got Nards, Frankenstein, Creature from Black Lagoon, the Mummy. All these types of creatures are coming back, and for reasons I won't get into, but it is basically a battle of like these kids versus these monsters, which actually Frankenstein is more so on their side because he just wants friends, and it's nice. But it's kind of Goonies-esque, like a lower rent Goonies. There's a lot of dated like language in it, especially like homophobic slurs and all that kind of stuff, and just kind of like slut shaming and all that stuff. But it is a product of the time, and if you can look past it, which I mostly can, you will have fun with this movie. It's kind of just like it's just like a fun, good Halloween time. I wish this would have came in time for Halloween. I know Kino wish they would too, but it is what it is. It's just get it for next Halloween, get it for a whole year round. It's a good time anytime. I watched it right after Thanksgiving, held up beautifully. But good film, good performances, great release. The 4K, I have the old Blu-ray. It doesn't look the hottest. This looks a lot better. It's a 4K scan of the 35mm original camera negative. It comes in Dolby Vision. The grain resolves very nicely. Nice vibrant colors, deep black levels, no blown highlights. Everything seems to look very nice. I did not notice any like anomalies, which I've seen like some recent Paramount associated with 4Ks on Kino have had little issues, and maybe there's little things here and there, but overall very good looking transfer. So you get 2 commentary tracks with this one. On the Blu-ray disc, you get a 79-minute documentary that's on the making of this movie, and then you also get that, like I said, The Wolfman Got Nards on its own disc, which I believe I've read a rumor that might be getting a standalone release next year from Kino. But you don't have, if you're a fan of this, you'll probably just go ahead and buy this now, and you'll have it. So you'll be all set. Overall, solid release. I know fans have really been wanting this. Like they were, ever since there was like a rumored 80s 4K coming out, there was a lot of people guessing Monster Squad, and whenever they announced it, people lost their shit, and I understand why. It's a really great release. I'm glad it's finally here. I'm happy for fans of the film. I think it's been treated quite well. Next one, from Kino Lorber and Metrograph, or no, not Metrograph, Milestone Pictures, too many M's, is The Exiles, which is really an interesting movie. Do I love it? No, but I respect what it's doing and kind of its place in film history. There's I know you're not supposed to like judge characters on likability, but there's some real assholes in this, but there's also some cool people. This is just kind of showing kind of the more the realities of like native people living. I believe this is in Los Angeles, and Bunker Hill in Los Angeles, and kind of just showing. It kind of even sets out like the opening text, kind of say like this is kind of like people that we know, and just kind of like the realities of living a native existence. Overall, so you kind of see these different characters, some of which are very like sexually aggressive to some of these women, or kind of borderline abusive, but they're very restless. They want to have like a good time. They would just want to have fun, and that's pretty much, they're just leading with that ethos of just like, want to have a good time, like I want to drink, I want to party and stuff, and it leads to mixed results. And but I think it's a fascinating snapshot, and it's very much worth a watch. Even if some things rub me the wrong way, it is just, especially a product of the time, the environment, everything. It is what it is. This is a really nice restoration. Looks very nice. It has been cleaned up quite well. It also includes a short film, some various short films from the director. And you also have a commentary track and some interviews and stuff. So it's a good, well-rounded, well-packaged release of The Exiles, especially if you're a fan of seeing a native portrayal that's not strictly like on like a reservation, and like just that is the focus. It is interesting to get a different perspective just for a more well-rounded identity. My next one is through Raro Video, also distributed through Kino Lorber. This is The Conformist from Bernardo Bertolucci, who he is a famous auteur. And I know a lot of people were very excited about this one. I know there's also a little bit of desire to have this one on 4K, but that was not to be. Here is underneath the slipcover, and there's no reversible artwork. This comes with, speaking of how Kino package stuff like weirdly, the 4K disc, like, or the 4K restoration on Blu-ray is disc 1, and then they actually include the, I believe it's the 2011. Yeah, the 2011 restoration is included here for posterity, because I guess they were assuming that some people, if they had an issue with any kind of like color changes or anything like that, I don't know. You just might want to have that just for a more comprehensive collection. This is about kind of like an inept person who is kind of joins this fascist regime who is trying to help his new regime take out his old teacher, and kind of like this journey of him along with these fascists, and what he learns about himself, and kind of like his relationships. And there's a lot of really interesting social commentary about fascism, and like how you get kind of wrapped up in such things. And it has like a real dark sense of humor, a lot of cutting commentary and everything. Overall, it's a really fascinating film, and I understand why it's so beloved. It's Jean-Louis Trintignant. He does a very nice job in the lead role. He's an electrifying screen presence. I was never bored throughout this. There's a especially tense scene involving like a trap that is sprung near the end of the film, which really like had me like riveted. Overall, really great film, and I think any fans will be happy with this one because the 4K restoration looks really nice. Really well resolved film grain. I'm not as informed about this film as far as its release history to know if there's been any issues with like color timing or anything. It looked nice to me, but maybe I'll try to research that and get into that a little bit more in my written review. But overall, at the moment, I think it looks nice. There's a good amount of special features. You get a 57-minute making of, you get a commentary track, you get some trailers and stuff, but overall, good one from Raro Video. My next one from Kino Lorber, this one is in associated with Indie Collect. This is Tokyo Pop, which is celebrating its 35th anniversary. And this one's a fun one. I like this one. This is about a musician who she is kind of having trouble finding success in America, and then she hears that in Japan that if you're an American, you can go there and be a big star because they love Americans so much. So she like uses all her money to get to Japan and just tries to find ways to survive within this kind of environment. And she meets this Japanese musician, and they kind of strike up an unlikely romance because there's like some language barriers, and just how they end up trying to get into a band together and trying to figure out that dynamic. And it's a nice romance, but that's not the focus. It is more so about their individual character growth, and especially what this woman is learning about herself and what she wants out of like her life, her music, everything, but also learning about the culture and everything. Good movie. I I'm not sure if I would say it's heartwarming, but it's very enjoyable. And overall, really like this one. The 4K restoration looks very nice. No outward blemishes. Everything resolves well. Nice colors. Looks great. No real special features to speak of besides a trailer, but overall, I think it's worth it just for this beautiful presentation of Tokyo Pop. My final Kino-related film is actually through the Cohen Film Collection. That is the Buster Keaton Collection Volume 5, which has 2 films, Three Ages and Our Hospitality. I love these Buster Keaton collections because I found a lot of great films. This one is more on the weaker side for me, but I still think it is worth picking up for fans. Three Ages is one of his earliest ones where he is attempting to look at relationships throughout the ages, literally from like the dawn of like the caveman age to the modern age of the time, and just like there's 3 different areas that they keep kind of cutting back and forth between, and there's some humorous moments between them. It's a pretty solid effort. Our Hospitality I like a little bit more. That one is actually about it starts off laying the groundwork about this family feud that's been going on forever, and then this young baby's dad gets killed in this feud, and he grows up and he ends up actually falling for this lady who he doesn't know is part of this, like, the family that his family's been feuding with, and just comedy ensues. It's Buster Keaton. He does a great job with physical comedy and reaction shots and everything. I do really like these films, but there's just volumes I do like more. But overall, I would take any and all Buster Keaton, and this is once again a really nice presentation from Cohen Film Collection. These have been restored from the best preservation elements. They really detail this in the back of like how they went through like 21 like different types or different prints and to see which one was the best one and like what they choose the best. I'll get more into that in my written review, but overall these look very nice for what they are, which is films that are around 100 years old, so you got to give them a little bit of leeway, but overall these look very nice. No special features, but the features, they're worth getting. Heading into my final stretch of titles, I have a mixture of Universal and MGM titles. My first title, I had actually seen before, but it had been a while, so I wanted to see how it held up. This was American Dreamz from Universal, and it didn't hold up the best. It's just a plain film. This is kind of like a satire of military policies of like the 2000s and the obsession with American Idol and how that kind of interacts. The best thing I can say about this is this has a fantastic cast. Like, yes, you have Mandy Moore, Hugh Grant, and Dennis Quaid, but you also have Willem Dafoe in like a very Dick Cheney-esque role. Marcia Gay Harden. This isn't specifically supposed to be like, this is Bush, this is Hugh Grant, as the Simon Cowell, but it plays out a lot that way, and I just think the humor is very inconsistent and very on the nose. There are things that I do appreciate, like I said, mostly the cast members and what they're doing, but the actual humor itself, which is from the director of American Pie and About a Boy, just doesn't really put it over the top for me. This is like a mindless viewing, which if I view it in like on a lazy Saturday, it's fine. But that can sometimes be hard to recommend as a purchase for people. So try it out if you like it. The DVD or the Blu-ray is decent. Also not mind-blowing. It comes from an older master, but the Blu-ray upgrade, it kicks it up a notch, but it's not like gorgeous, but it looks fine. It looks pretty good. This does come with an audio commentary track from the director, and eventually one of the stars comes in quite a bit into it. There's also has a couple of featurettes and some deleted scenes. Overall, it's worth owning on Blu-ray if you're a fan of the film, but otherwise just check it out and see if it's for you first, because it's a little bit dated in its kind of critique and social satire. It's just not the sharpest. My next one is an MGM title with Anthony Edwards. This is Mr. North. This is based on a novel. It's about Anthony Edwards plays the Mr. North, who he comes to town and he kind of soon people believe that he's kind of like a healer and can heal them by touch, and that's kind of like you can get the sense with like this electricity that's going on. Like people, you have an older Robert Mitchum, which is interesting to see him kind of in his advanced years. And you have like Virginia Madsen, Mary Stuart Masterson, Lauren Bacall, Harry Dean Stanton. It has a fantastic cast. And they kind of elevate this more so than the plot itself for me. It's just like there's a little bit of whimsy to it, almost kind of like if you've seen something like Meet Joe Black, which was actually after this, just kind of that kind of fantastical quality with just like a more like small town ethos. Overall, it's a good film, just not, it didn't wow me, but it was entertaining. And if you like any of the cast members, you can check it out and have a really good time. This comes from an older master. Holds up reasonably well. Doesn't look fantastic, but doesn't look awful by any means. Sound is fine. No special features, just bare bones, just HD transfer, older, put it on disc. It's fine. It's kind of in the same vein as the 1986 version of Nobody's Fool. This has been a title that's been attributed to several movies, but this is the one from 1986 with Rosanna Arquette and Eric Roberts. Rosanna Arquette plays a kind of unlucky in love woman who she has a reputation around town ever since she told her boyfriend that she was pregnant, and he kind of was like, no thank you, I don't want this, and then she threw forks at him, so everyone thinks she's crazy. But so she's kind of dealing with that baggage at the beginning of the movie, and she kind of comes to find her people with this roaming theater troupe that comes to town, and including Eric Roberts, who is his own kind of emotionally volatile, which I did not love him as a love interest just because he is so emotionally volatile. But seeing Rosanna Arquette, on the other hand, I love that, and I love her journey and just how she kind of evolves and kind of finds her voice. I really like that. I just did not love the romance with Eric Roberts, but it's worth it for Rosanna Arquette. And like Mr. North, older master, passable but not great, solid audio, no special features, just no frills, Blu-ray. So Nobody's Fool. If you like Rosanna Arquette, check it out. Otherwise, it's you can skip it. Final title. I know I've had a lot. Final title is actually a 3-pack, so bear with me. This is from Universal. This is the Doris Day and Rock Hudson collection, and this includes their hit Pillow Talk. Then you have Lover Come Back, and then Send Me No Flowers. Pillow Talk is their most well-known and most well-regarded. It is about two people who happen to share a party line, and how they end up like getting into a relationship with each other through kind of false pretenses and obfuscation and all kinds of stuff. And it's charming, and it's good. It's a good, charming romantic comedy. The next one is Lover Come Back, which kind of goes along the same lines. This is like with like a inventor and a newspaper reporter, and kind of like there's some lying and like a deception within this one too. It's a step down from Pillow Talk. It's okay. It's probably the weakest of the three for me. And the final one is Send Me No Flowers. They kind of shake up the formula. In this one, Rock Hudson and Doris Day are already together, happily married, but Rock Hudson is a roaring hypochondriac, so he always thinks that there's something wrong with him, that he is dying, and through a miscommunication, he finally believes that he has been confirmed to die, and so he starts living his life that way, and just how that kind of upends his marriage and his personal life and everything. All three of these are charming enough. I love both of these actors. I love Rock Hudson and Doris Day. They are fun together. Pillow Talk is their most successful, but all three are worthy of your time to different degrees. As far as these presentations are concerned, These are not the best Universal transfers. They are a little dated. They look fine, but I would love to get these on 4K or just like a new 4K remaster at least. Without some of the, there's a little bit of like digital noise reduction and stuff like that. But overall, decent enough, especially with like shelf-friendly packaging and just like, it's not too expensive. So if you're a fan of these, I think it's a good release overall. The first film, Pillow Talk, has some special features, including a commentary track, a 22-minute retrospective, and another like 5-minute featurette on the real-life dynamic between Hudson and Day. None of the others have like legit special features besides the theatrical trailers, but if you're a fan of them, it's a good release. I'm glad to own all three for whenever I'm in the mood. But yes, that is a stack of releases. I'm not even going to try to hold them all up because I would just like throw them everywhere. But I've had such a blast showing them to you. I think there's a lot of great stuff in here. There's some not so great stuff, but there's a lot of great stuff in there. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I tried to have a nice variety for you. If you enjoyed it, please let me know in the comments what you liked, what you didn't like, what you want to see more of. Share this with friends. Let me know. Let them know if you see a title that reminds you of them. You're like, hey, check this out. This, you should check. Like, this is a fun release. But just make sure you're subscribed because I love doing these videos and I want to make sure you don't miss any of them. And subscribe to the Geek Vibe Nation podcast channel. I appreciate you tuning in every week. Next week, Mike will be back with me and we'll be riffing off each other once again. I appreciate you spending time with me. But until next time, enjoy these movies.